at this point to figure out where we can plug them in. We're working on that right now. With the ICP, just let me know. We'll get them plugged in.
just 2 VLATs.
Operations to BZXE.
160 minutes 662 chest pain, 241 Cordova Street, command 14. Go ahead.
Smells like this is possibly a cooking problem. Engine 50, correction, medic engine 53 and Quint 73 will remain on scene to continue investigating. Cancel the balance.
Ventura, copy the time. 51 medic engine 53, Quint 73 are remaining on scene. All additional cancel.
One Charlie. The Alpha is 6820, and they're approximately 20 minutes out.
We drove in, I have to tell you, the truck was shaking, the trees were on fire, the smoke was so thick that you have to drive slow so you can really see those crews in front of you and the lights. It's obviously a fluid, very dangerous situation out here, and of course if we have any new mandatory evacuations, we'll let you know. Send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, thank you very much, Jennifer. And Jennifer is right down Madera Drive from the entrance to the Ronald Reagan Library, which was threatened earlier today.
Yep, and that's where Mark Mester is. Hi, Mark.
Ventura, engine 601.
Hey, we wanted to give you an update on the situation here, so I'm joined by Randall Swan of the library. And just an update, you got word at around 6 o'clock this morning the flames were approaching this historic landmark. Just give us through what goes through your mind first before you give us an update on the landmark. What was it like getting that call this morning?
Well, I got the call on my way to work this morning, and we could see the flames on the hillside beyond. So we're just barely over the ridge, and of course that made our staff go right into high gear, and we, reached out, made contact with all the appropriate personnel, and then sent many of the personnel home, those that are already on their way in. Once we know that we're in a fire situation or any sort of situation, there's a protocol and a response rate that's already put in place by our staff. And of course, we just did that, automatically without thinking.
For the folks at home wondering, is any part of the building inside or outside, is it damaged at all?
We're not seeing any damage yet. We're still doing assessments, and we will do assessments for the next 24 hours and make sure that everything is, again, safe. And because this is an establishment which houses many, many artifacts, but also the archives from the 1980s. It's very important. This is a National Archives and Records Administration site. It's very important to the world, if you will, the kind of records that are kept here. Right now we have an Egyptian exhibit in place, the Lost Cities exhibit, that has items that have never been into the United States before, and the Egyptian government is very concerned that, I've been contacting them. And
Did they reach out today?
They did. No, right during the fire. They wanted to know were their items safe, and we were trying to protect them best. So the long and short of it, the fire came right up to the defensible space, the space that we already spent a lot of time in preparation, preparing for this sort of occurrence. We never want this to happen. If it does, we want the outcome that we had today to be the outcome. So we're checking to see if there's any smoke inhalation damage coming into our systems, but right now, the fire never reached any of our buildings, never quite reached them anyway. We don't see any.
That really wasn't by mistake either. You guys are prepping for this.
All done on purpose. All done on purpose. This was a good day. The fire departments, the emergency responders, Simi Police, Ventura County Sheriff's Department, everybody has a part to play in this process, and we practiced it every year, and everybody went full on, and we had a wonderful response by everyone. The images and pictures that were taken this morning, they're significant, right? They'll stop your heart in some ways. If you were there watching the sun turn into just to an orange glow behind the flames and the smoke, we thought there really might be some damage from this. But it turns out that if you prepare for it, and the Defensible Space Program actually does work very effectively. If there's ever a place in California that shows that, the icon that is the Reagan Library is perhaps that image.
Did you see there was an image that the LA Times took earlier, and it shows Air Force One in the foreground, and in the background you could see the flames approaching the ridgeline. Were you able to see that photo?
I just got a glimmer of it on my cell phone earlier, but if you look over even another 30 meters from where we're standing, probably looks that 25 meters, you'll see the burnt, scorched land. So that was actually where the fire wasn't even that close. We weren't even that concerned at that point. It came all the way up to within 40 feet or so of that building. So yeah, that wasn't even the bad part.
Well, if that's not the bad part, we don't really want to see what's worse than that. But we have posted that photo. It's up on KTLA5's Instagram. If you click on the stories, you can see that iconic image. We thank you for your time. We're glad that the structure here is doing just fine. If we come back out here live, Glenn and Lou, if we move out of the way and we push into this image just behind you, those are the propane heaters, if you will. And the Santa Ana winds are so strong, they've even knocked those over. In fact, the top appears to be damaged. Again, if there is any damage to the Reagan Library, it would be propane tanks.
It's more wind damage than fire damage. And the same thing was true over here. The park benches we had were all blown over by the winds. Winds, I would say, top 65, 70 knots out here. I mean, you could barely stand up in there.
That would most likely be the river bottom. Battalion 2 Harbor 2. There may be a little bit of smoke over east of the bridge and closer to the mushroom plant. We'll go into the mushroom plant to investigate.
And the fire department's going to make that decision. So the fire department and the police departments, they're going to, all the emergency services, that's their job, and they're doing a great job right now. They help save the library. The library's here, and it'll be here for when it is open, and we hope everyone will come and visit it. But
Ventura Park, I see a stage incoming equipment at Navigator and Harbor.
Center, copied. All incoming unit stage at Navigator and Harbor. Additionally, the RP stated this was at the east end of the golf course, close to the river bottom near the little creek that runs between the two properties.
Park, I see copies. Break. Medic engine 2 copies. 2 copies. We're making access through the mushroom plant.
We're having a report to the 23 Olsen for an assignment on tech.
Right, copy, thanks.
Interior Rada. And when you're covered by tones.
Division Bravo, do you have an update about the spot that crossed Olsen? Yeah, we got 2 or 3 spots we got it picked up.
Yeah.
Thanks, message received.
Comes to this fire, the concern is the 23 freeway. So far, it's been contained within the 23 freeway. If it jumps the freeway, then it's heading to Oaks, and that's another entirely new set of problems that could be heading our way. So far, it has not jumped the freeway.
From more fire engines arrive. You can see Los Angeles Fire Department there. They've been laying out these hoses, and they've been dousing all of this brush. Fire, or this brush rather, along the edge of the freeway. This is in the here is that it doesn't happen, but just within the past 15 minutes or so, we just saw a much heavier presence, a lot more fire engines arrive. The first thing they did is lay out those hoses and get to work right here. I spoke to someone who was doing that as well, and they told us really all we're trying to do is prevent that fire from jumping the freeway. The winds from time to time, they really do pick up, as we've been saying throughout the day, and those make you feel an increased sense of a threat that it could quickly come in this direction when those winds start to shift. So we're keeping an eye on that. The smoke as well, pretty heavy right here, pretty thick. Eyes are burning. But overall, it seems like this area right now is still doing okay. Off to the right, we understand there is a horse boarding facility. So a lot of things to be concerned about on that end, but again, major concern is that it doesn't go in that direction. So that is the very latest reporting live here. We're on the 23 freeway eastbound. Annabelle Munoz, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Annabelle, thank you for that report. Of course, Annabelle's going to stay there. She's going to watch the situation. We'll go back to her as necessary. Good luck out there, Annabelle. In the meantime, let's talk about those winds and what's heading our way this afternoon, this evening, into tomorrow. Danny Romero joins us right now with the long-term forecast. Danny, we're having to brace ourselves for the worst.
Yeah, that's just it. We were really just getting started on this. Of course, we've been talking about this for a few days. The extreme red flag warning. We rarely use that word extreme, but in this case, National Weather Service issued the extreme red flag warning because not only of the very, very dry conditions, but also the extremely strong winds. As we've been seeing, 60, 70, even 80 mile per hour gusts are not out of the question at all. So that extreme red flag warning will hold until tomorrow at 6 p.m. in all those areas in red, pretty much all of Southern California. As far as the winds are concerned, they are strong. They are really blowing. The high wind warning indicating those higher winds are in effect. So the beach is seeing 30 to 45 mile per hour winds. Valleys in that 40 to 50 mile per hour range. Mountains up to 60 miles per hour. Deserts 20 to 40. These are sustained winds, by the way. The gusts could be higher than those in all those areas. So, of course, the wind's a major factor in our weather conditions today. Now, to give you an idea how those winds are going here in the noon hour, we can see, look at that, 57 mile per hour winds right now in Santa Clarita, right up there near those fire zones. We're seeing 34 miles per hour up around the mountain spots, like around Big Bear. We're seeing, again, the areas in the purple, those indicate 50 mile per hour winds. And again, all in that Santa Ana profile, north to northeast winds blowing out that warms as it goes. Now, the temperatures aren't going to get really high, but it just warms the area, it warms the ground, and it dries it out so much. That's the real concern, is how dry things are. So as we look forward to this afternoon, those winds really don't let up much at all. Those areas in that purple, in that 50 mile per hour range are still there, still strong into tonight, into tomorrow. We see it finally Thursday morning into afternoon starts to now settle down a bit. So by 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, we will now see some isolated spots in that 30, 40 mile per hour range, but still, again, in those dangerous fire zones that we've been watching throughout the day. We get to Thursday night and things really kind of calm down. Now, I mentioned humidities. Humidity points like this, all single digits. These are such bone dry conditions. We're talking 9% in Santa Clarita. 5% around LA, 5% for Oxnard, 3% in Long Beach. And that's a truly telling one. Even though our reporting station is somewhat inland, 3% anywhere near the water, 5% like Oxnard is just unheard of because you have the water there to draw moisture from. It's that dry because those winds blowing out of the north and northeast are heading towards the coast and drying things as it goes. So hence the low readings everywhere. 5% Big Bear, 4% Ontario, 6% for Riverside. It is just an absolutely dry day all around, and we can see more of those numbers. Again, look at Woodland Hills at 9%. Look at Santa Monica. 19% relative humidity. Redondo Beach, 5%. To have it that dry on the coast really indicates how truly dry this whole situation is. And we combine that with the winds, and we have the fire concerns that we've been showing you all day. So talking about some of those spots, Simi Valley, where Annabelle was a second ago. We're seeing gusts there approaching 60 miles per hour. Dew points also in that single-digit range there in that Simi Valley area. The other fire areas that we've been concerned about, Calabasas has gusts 26 miles per hour. However, we can see those gusts jump up to 35, 40 miles per hour in some of those wind-prone areas. So that, too, a major concern throughout the afternoon. We check out the more inland empire spots. We check out things around Harupa Valley, where we see Leticia. 40 mile per hour gusts. Some areas we've seen they're even approaching 60 mile per hour gusts. That, too, again, a fire danger because the winds and the very, very dry conditions that are persisting. Now, all around, we've seen the little spot fires pop up. We saw those trucks turned over. Look at that, 60 mile per hour gusts just about around Fontana, and then 70 visibility's even more prevalent in those spots as well. So we're seeing, again, just the conditions staying very, very windy, very, very dry. You know, I mentioned earlier about the dew points. It's a temperature at which, you know, moisture forms essentially, Ellen, and it's, so give you an idea, when we have 60-degree dew point, that's fairly comfortable for. You have 70-degree dew point, that's kind of when it's a real kind of hot, humid day. So think about this, if we're at negative temperatures, along with the winds, really makes it a major, major fire. Colleen, go ahead.
All right, Danny, thank you very much. 1 o'clock right now, Ellen Lave along with Colleen Sullivan, relieving David Ono as firefighters battle to save homes as they face
brush fire threatening homes and forcing evacuations in Harupa Valley. That is just west of Riverside, and those high winds toppling big rigs in Fontana. Driving conditions extremely, extremely dangerous right now. In many areas, they have lost power.
And right now, let's go to Jory Rand. He has an update. He's over the.
As we've since seen several Phos-Chek drops twice from a DC-10 who cycled around twice, and a couple times from the MD-87, that Erickson tanker you might have seen come through a couple times here as well. The few spots we're looking at are down at the bottom of the hill. You can see some of these homes hit by that fire retardant, and they are in pretty good shape. But as we come back to that Buddhist meditation center, this is one of the hottest spots. It's still burning. So that meditation center is that home at the bottom left of your screen with the red roofing, and the hillsides, the trees, and the little grassland behind there has been burning and continuing to burn. If we travel a little bit further east, there are a couple other hot spots. We saw them making a stand here against some of these homes. You see that one open flame right there. This is the eastern front of what is left of this fire. It is still burning, maybe some bushes here, but all in all, this one looks pretty good. Now, if we back out overall, I can show you how much this has calmed down. There's really just 3 or 4 little spots that are still smoldering, but the hillsides are completely charred. They were pluming in smoke and flame just a short time ago. Now, as we pan to the east, another little hot spot on this hill, but we'll keep going east and we'll swing it back around to the fire burning in Riverside, just east of Rubidoux, which actually looks like it might have picked back up here in the last couple of minutes. This is just south of Fairmount Park. You see that lake there to the left? That's Fairmount Park. The big hillside to the right is Mount Rubidoux Park. That's hiking trails and the Peace Tower on top. These are homes over Indian Hill Road will be the closest road with homes. That's on the far side. So we're looking through this little park here. Trees are beginning to catch fire, and you can see the hillside through the smoke just to the right of your screen. That hillside leads up to Indian Hill Road, and there are homes there, and the hillside has been burned. You see the fire engine still dousing the hillsides with hose lines, and a lot of equipment here lined up on Indian Hill Road because there are several homes. This little neighborhood, I think it's part of the grand neighborhood of Riverside, just between that's Mission Inn Avenue to the right that separates Mount Rubidoux Park and this little neighborhood, this little pocket of homes here. To the east, or to the west, in between us and this fire is the Santa Ana River. So they don't have to worry about it spreading really going that direction. There you go, you see the access road and a little sliver of green. That is the Santa Ana riverbed. And the winds are traveling right now to the south, and then they're getting higher elevation being carried to the west. And so open flames here are not expected to really be able to jump the Santa Ana River, but they are continuing to hit those trees and go up in smoke. So we've seen it die down, and then it hits another area of fuel and picks back up again. So we'll continue to keep an eye on here, but things, at least for the homes here, look pretty good. Guys?
All right, Jory. Yeah, well, it looks like they're trying to get a handle on this, but with the winds and the low humidity, obviously it's going to be a very tough firefight. And let's take you back over to, we're going to stay in Riverside County and still go to the Hill Fire, which Rob McMillan is covering that right now. Rob.
That's right. We just took over from Leticia Juarez, who's been so ably reporting out here all morning long, here on the north side of the 60 freeway on the frontage road between Headley and Country Village. And let me just give you a lay of the lands here, starting with this backyard where they've been working on some of these what look like tree stumps over here for the past few minutes, obviously continuing to smolder. And the big fear when you have a big Santa Ana wind event like the one that we're in right now is that the longer those burn, the more likely there is for an ember to pick off. Oh, turn around, Martin. We got the DC-10 right overhead there. Sorry, one of the tough things about being in a fire like this with the winds just so incredibly loud and so much smoke all around us, we can't get a good view of the aircraft when they come in, but we've been watching the DC-10 as it's been circling back and forth for, we've seen it here since we've been in the area for the past hour. Perhaps it's been out here even longer. If you pan slightly to the left, Martin, you can, I just want to show the folks at home here some of what they're dealing with. Even though they haven't lost any homes in the area, this obviously is a structure, what the firefighters refer to as an outbuilding that's caught fire, and they're still working to prevent that from spewing any embers that might go over the freeway. Now, we're looking south, and in the background here you see this big wall off in the distance. Well, it looks like a wall, but it's actually a hill that leads up to the 60 freeway. Now, that's some of the good news that we've experienced here, if any, in this Jurupa Valley fire. It's that the freeway has been acting as sort of a man-made fire break, preventing, at least that's what the firefighters are hoping, and successfully so far, the fire from spreading to the south. I'd like to pan slightly. I know there's another crew here, Martin, but off to the right, you can see this is where we have some active smoke off this way. You're looking up toward the northeast right now. And for those somewhat familiar with the area, but maybe not 100%, the fire appears to be skunking around in the hills there, south of Fontana, north of Jurupa Valley. This whole area here is under a mandatory evacuation order. Just to reiterate, west of Lindsay, east of Grapevine, north of Van Buren, and south of Philadelphia. That's several square miles, multiple city blocks here around the 60 freeway, north of Jurupa Valley, south of Fontana. As Jory was just reporting from Air 7 HD to the east of us over the Riverside fire, it's, bad news, good news comes out here almost on a minute-by-minute basis. We'll be just shrouded in smoke, high winds. You can see embers starting to fly, and then all of a sudden the smoke will clear, then the sun comes out, and you get a sense that perhaps they're making progress. But it's really tough to tell on fires like these, in these wind-driven events. In a normal weather pattern, you can tell that the fire is almost out when you really stop seeing the smoke. But in these kinds of fires, it's so tough to tell because the smoke lays so low to the ground. It can look like firefighters are making significant progress on the fire, but in fact, it's very difficult to tell. This is really the most significant plume of smoke we've seen so far. In talking to Leticia Juarez and her cameraman Dave Wood, who've been out here for the past couple of hours, it definitely is better than it was a while ago. But again, continuing to keep an eye on here in this location. Mandatory evacuations going on in this part of the Jurupa Valley. And I think we might be having another aircraft coming in. I'm not sure. I think that was the, no, that was another tanker. But you can see the firefighters are continuing to work many of these backyards here. And I think, are you the homeowner over here?
This is my property right here. That's my daughter's house right there.
When did this all start?
I figured like 25 minutes ago.
I think got here about 25 minutes ago. The fire's been burning a lot longer than that, but it's over quick.
Well, the fire was come maybe earlier than 10 o'clock. Because I was with my granddaughter. The fire was already by the door over there. And then when I came back, I got surprised because the freeway was closed. The street was closed, the freeway was closed, and I got to go all the way around and come back this way. My car is still parked in the street right there because they don't ever get in.
So you say this is your property right here?
This is my property right here, and that's my daughter.
What is this building? Is that just a shed right there?
It was, yeah, it's, my father-in-law used to have some animals in there, and we never cleaned it out, that part there.
You know, you've been here for half an hour or so watching all of this. Do you get the sense that things are looking better than they did, or you just never know?
Of course, yes. It looked a whole lot better. Yeah, a lot better.
Thank you very much. What was your name?
Thank you. I'm Jose.
Jose, last
Vargas.
name? Vargas. Okay, thank you. Jose Vargas, again, this is his property, and, you know, you can see it relatively untouched, but as we've been following firefighters going through here trying to get out many of these hot spots, before we send it back, let's just take a big, another wide loop of the area to show a 360 view of what it looks like here in Jurupa Valley. So much of the smoke staying so close to the ground, and that's what makes it so difficult for us just as news crews to spot new fire starts around here, because the smoke lays just so low to the ground. I think it's tough to tell, Martin. Here's another airdrop happened just behind that tree. I don't know if you got it, but no, it was to your right. We'll go ahead and send it back to you in the studio for now. But again, things looking much better here. A massive air show going on upstairs here in Jurupa Valley. Back to you for now.
Rob, thank you very much. And to watch those firefighters firsthand, we get to see eyewitness so close up, the hard work that they have to do. And it's all over the Southland right now. As you can see, the smoke coming from just every direction. But right now, we're going to check in with Chris Christie, because the other fire, the easy fire, anything but easy, but that has been burning since a little after 6 this morning. And Chris, what can you tell us?
The water drops are continuing, the firefight is continuing just to the east of the 23 and just south of Tierra Rajada Road. That's what we're looking at right here. That's the Tierra Rajada Golf Club on the top right-hand corner of your screen, and you can see a lot of smoke still billowing from this grass fire just south of Tierra Rajada. Let's go ahead and push in on some containers that just caught on fire a few moments ago. The fire department moving in here very quickly with 2 engines and have put some water on these containers, and it looks like they've been able to tamp down those flames, but you can see a couple of containers that are now charred up here on some private commercial property just off of, that's going to be Le Pierre Road. And just to the north of that is going to be the classic equestrian center, which we believe has been completely evacuated. But you can see fire crews now stationing in there, because just to the top right, just north of the equestrian center, is some very active fire, not more than 100 feet away from that equestrian center. And certainly you can see the direction that smoke is blowing in. The